What's up, y'all? So, some breaking news happened here in my neck of the woods in Memphis. As a lot of you may know, the Tyre Nichols trial was today, and the verdict happened. Well, the trial and the verdict happened today. Let me just be straight up with y'all about it, and it's not good at all. Let me get to this news clip, and so we can see what everything that went down in the courtroom. Like, share, and subscribe.
Beginning until now, ABC 24's Lauren Turman has been following this case from beginning to end and joins us now live with her own reaction of those not guilty verdicts. Lauren?
Defense lawyers. We're also waiting and watching to see if
Hey, that's right, Ruben. We were just in the courtroom and saw a lot of the emotion of those not guilty verdicts that you had just kind of put out there. A lot of the family chanting, family of the officers specifically chanting, "Thank you, Jesus." You saw those ex-officers hugging their defense attorneys and hugging each other, just kind of as a sigh of relief that their court proceedings are now over. Again, very different from a lot of the initial expectations and reaction that was going to initially be provided there, but I also differing a lot from the results of the federal trial as well. So again, a lot of emotion right now. I also want to take you to some of the initial emotion and reactions from the family of Tyre Nichols. A lot of sad faces. They were also hugging one another. District Attorney Steve Mulroy kind of talking to his team, telling them that it was okay, telling them that they did a good job. And we are also awaiting some reaction from the family and also from some of the prosecutors. But again, that just really nails down some of the emotion and some of the surprise and just a lot of what we have been seeing here over the last 9 days as well.
That is absolutely wild to me that those police officers were not guilty, and you know they flat out unalived this man. They flat out killed this man. Let me just go on ahead and say it. I'm not even monetized yet. What am I doing? They flat out killed this man without question, and I just don't see how those individuals, those cops who are not guilty. I don't think they're employed by MPD as of right now, but I just don't see how they'll be able to walk the streets of Memphis again or anywhere that people will know who they are, because this made news around the United States. This just isn't local news in Tennessee and in Memphis or just in the South. This made national news.
Now, I do want to run you through some of what we had seen initially from some of the evidence. And you can see prosecutor Paul Hagerman right there saying that he will give us some initial reaction to this commentary a little bit later, and he'll be stepping out of the room with some of the other prosecutors and assistant district attorneys in that case as well. But again, bouncing right back into what we've been seeing here over the last 9 days, we've been seeing medical evidence, medical examiners, forensic pathologists. We've seen former law enforcement officers and SWAT unit members and just people who have been vouching for the character of these ex-officers, which really obviously here has swayed the jury, telling them that they grew up with these men, they've seen them, they were always the first people to respond, they were doing things in an orderly practice, and they continued to be exemplary members of the Memphis police officers as they served there as well. But specifically, one of the really interesting things that tended to really get a lot of the emotion flowing out of the jury were the results that were coming from Dr. Marco Ross and Dr. Jane Turner. They were the examiners and forensic consultants and pathologists that were involved in this case pretty heavily. They talked about seeing Tyre Nichols in the hospital, that they had to fill him with some almost 40 pounds of fluid initially, and some of the other medical results in terms of just seeing him being pretty much really beaten, having contusions all over his body from his head down to.
Man, that's hard to hear. That the damage that he took from him being beat to death by those cops, man. And these some bitches about to walk free, and it's as clear as day that they killed this man.
to his lungs, down to all other parts of his body, and it tended to get a lot of emotion out of the jury there. But of course, not enough to really sway them towards a guilty verdict. This is certainly different from what we had seen in the federal trial, but we again will be awaiting some of the commentary from the prosecutors, from also the family of Tyre Nichols, to just see how they are feeling in this moment and what the reaction in the aftermath is after they've been hugging each other, after they've been crying, after they have been going through so much and enduring the last week and a half of this trial. So we will, of course, keep you updated with those details. But for now, back to you.
Before I let you go, you've been in that courtroom from the very beginning of this trial. I know it might be kind of difficult to hear me, so I'll speak up a little bit. What was the initial reaction, of the crowd in the courtroom? Because, again, this is a verdict that might have been different than what some people were expecting.
But you still have to wonder what goes through the family's mind. These officers now, though, their families.
Absolutely. A lot of the initial reaction was from family that was in there. They took up the majority. It was a very small courtroom, so they took up the majority of the room in that space. And it was a lot of tears. Family members were crying. Friends were crying, both of the ex-officers and of the family members. Silence, but silent hugging, silent embraces, just a lot of silent emotion that was coming out as they saw those tears. We just saw the tears that were coming down. We saw the hugs that were given to the defense attorneys from those ex-officers.
Man, I really feel for that family of Tyre Nichols, because I know this has to be absolutely painful for them to know that their son won't get justice.
Just kind of as a little point of relief there, to say that their court proceedings are over, to let them know how good of a job they've been doing, and adversely from the prosecution. And again, I just told you about those conversations that they all had with District Attorney Steve Mulroy. So you can clearly see that emotion that's being held on a lot of the family members, and that is coming as you saw those tears, you saw those embraces, as they really figure out what their next steps are. Back to you.
All right, Lauren, I'm going to keep you here with us, if you don't mind, for a few more minutes, because, of course, this just happened in the courtroom. So most of what we need to hear is going to come from you at this point in time. But I want to stay with you here for a few more minutes if we can.
Okay, I'm not going to go through this whole video, but I will say this. I remember hearing about this for the first time, and I thought, man, that is so messed up with what they did to this man. Absolutely devastating. And to see them get away with it, because the jury got in their mind, in the minds of the jury, right? In the minds of the jury, I really want to know what led them to this conclusion that these officers should go free for what they did. Because this is absolutely bonkers in my opinion. And mm, 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 mm. I just don't know how. I just don't know how they see these guys as not guilty. I mean, everybody saw what happened, and I mean, this is tough. My condolences go out to Tyre Nichols and his family, because this is going to be tough on them, because they didn't get the results they wanted, which means they did not get justice for Tyre at all. And I don't think this is a win by the system at all, because you know, in Memphis, a lot of criminals get away with a lot of stuff, because you could do so much crime in Memphis and you'll be back on the street in no time. But if you try to pull that mess across the state line over in Mississippi, yeah, they will take your ass to jail. I don't know about Arkansas, but I do know in Mississippi, like, they don't play that shit. They don't play that. They don't play that just to the south of us. Not at all. Which is why a lot of criminals like coming here to Memphis and just doing God knows what. But now we witness this right here, and apparently Tyre's life did not matter, and these guys thought it was, trying to be cute, trying to be just trying to be these tough guys for whatever issues they had with him. They decided to take his life. And I would really hate to see that there be more tension than there already is between, um, civilians here in Memphis and in the police force. I don't want to see that happen, but I would not be shocked if this right here causes more tension between police and civilians. Man, it's this is not good. This is ugly. This is real ugly right here. Any faith that you may have had, well, most Americans don't have faith in our justice system, regardless of what state, city, county you live in. Yeah, it just destroyed the little faith anybody pretty much had in the justice system. Shit, it's basically dead now because these individuals here. There's several. Was more than just these three, but they're just showing that these are the main faces here. There's several other officers that were involved in this. It's a wrap. It's over. It's done. It's done. These guys get to walk free. No justice for Tyree. None at all. And it's pretty much a slap in the face to his family, if you ask me. But listen, that's just my opinion, and my opinion really doesn't matter because what's done is done, and there's nothing I can do about it. But at this point, y'all can just let me know what y'all think. I appreciate y'all if y'all made it to the end of this video. Thank you for watching. And I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.